right. Paul, welcome to the Sludge Factory. Thanks for being here. You just mentioned you're checking in from Minneapolis. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good. I've just been so I usually get up at ridiculous time in the morning early and go to the gym, but this time it was it's just too freaking cold outside. so I decided to sit down and I've just been playing guitar all morning up until these interviews.
I hear you. So what's been keeping you busy? Are you guys actually playing dates right now?
No, we've got we've just about to start playing dates. We're doing South America, starting the 10th of next month.
In December, right?
Yeah, but I've got to get so we're rehearsing now individually, and then I'll fly back to the UK on the 2nd, I think it is, next month for rehearsals, and then South America, then back here. Then I'll spend Christmas here, and then I'm back in England in January for more rehearsals. And then we're off towards the end of January, we're off to Mexico, and then the 1st of February we start North American tour for 7 weeks, I think it is.
Very cool, very cool. And now this tour is going to be in support of your new album that just released.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of great things about the album. I've heard it with the label of that concept record or conceptual record. Can you talk a little bit about the album? What were some of the themes that went into the creation of this new record?
It's a new album. We tend to wanted to try and push it. I don't know, just to try and push it a little bit faster this time than the last one. Because to be honest, we couldn't really go backwards from Godspeed to the more rocker stuff. I really wanted to push the envelope out a little bit further on this one. So I think this album is a taste of what basically things to come. Future albums, I think it's definitely. I mean, it's mixed differently because usually we have the orchestral side of things quite up front. But this time we decided to make it a little bit more symphonic and push the orchestra back to see what it sounds like. But when the key melody lines come through, you can obviously hear those. But there's little bits that got taken out which sound a little bit too messy and stuff. I mean, when we put before we go into do an album, we demo absolutely everything, so we know what the songs sound like. And we usually go completely overboard on all the orchestra and everything. Just so we've got the choice to, if we want to, we can strip it down and take it out. Because there's always as everybody knows, it's always best to have too much than not enough.
Right.
So you can't pick it like that. So what we did with that, and compared to the demos, what the album's like, and when it's finally recorded and released, it sounds completely different. Completely different. I mean, it just sounds, the demos, they sound really everything's completely in your face. Completely in your face. And which is personally is a little bit too much, I think, because music has to breathe so you can actually understand it and so you can feel it.
Sure.
But the reason why we did put that much, like I said, is better to have too much than not enough.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I've been listening to some of the tracks, and it definitely, like you said, the songs feel a little bit more stripped down, just in comparison to some of your previous albums, And talk a little bit about. I mean, would you consider this a concept record?
Supposedly, yeah. Dan came up with a concept about Lilith, about his story. I mean, the whole subject matter about her to do with this album. It isn't really gospel mythology what exactly happened. It's been twisted more into what he done on the last album, a bit more of a fairy tale type thing,
Right.
But yeah, she features. I mean, the reason why we decided to head down the Lilith route was, or should I say, Dan decided to head down the Lilith route, was because the songs sounded sort of resembling Cruelty album, a million. Obviously, we couldn't go down the Sludge Factory route because we've already done that. But we waited cheesy sort of Cruelty Part 2, bands. I hate it when bands do that. but no, so I mean, Lilith has been featured within the band for quite some time, since Dusk. I mean, we had a fan club Cult of Lilith. We used to have. So, I mean, that was a bit of a more of an obvious choice, really, to go down sort of semi-mythology route, if you know what I mean.
Right. Now, I mean, I know that you're a band. Cradle of Filth has always been a band that has kind of really gone out of their way to try to make each album different from the last.
Yeah.
You know, are you guys finding that it's more of a challenge now? I mean, your band's been around close to 20 years now. I mean, I think you guys have taken your music to you know, many different extremes. Is it more challenging as you create? As you're creating albums now in your career?
But yeah, it's just, yeah, it is, but you just have to like be sort of like, I don't know, open to like other influences around you. You can't be tunnel vision, you know. You have to be able to, I don't know, just like take in other surroundings so you can try and make your music a little bit different each time. I mean, that's the thing is we've always had the knack of making our each album sound different. And people could ask me, say, oh, why do you have that happen? To be honest, I don't know why that happens. It just happens.
Sure.
You know, I think one reason why it might be because like we don't write constantly all the time. We like tour for a year and then we go into writing, so we don't actually physically do anything. And until we actually like have to actually come around to writing, then that way you're not drumming up the same music, all the same styles, and you've had a year's worth of other influences and other techniques learned on your instruments and other ideas and stuff that are building up ready for that one big writing session.
Sure.
That's, I mean, to be honest, I mean that's what I think is. That might be complete bollocks, but I don't know. To be honest, you know, I've tried sitting down thinking about it, and like that's the only solution I can come up with.
Yeah. Well, I'm just interested in, you know, I mean, it's easy to excuse me, it's easy to forget that your band's been around so long, and then you look back at your, you know, you've put out a number of albums, and you definitely see the progression on each one, you know. And I just often wonder, you know, how easy or hard is that for a band over a period of time, you know, and it's just interesting to me to see, you know, where you can still pull your inspiration from, when you've already pulled a lot of inspiration from so many different places.
I mean, it just happens, to be honest. You just have to make sure. Like I said, I think the key to it is just don't become like tunnel visioned on what you're doing.
Sure.
You know, just don't do it, because there's so many people in the scene.
Yeah.
You know, no matter what type of music it is. I mean, obviously I can only like talk about this scene, but there's so many people in this scene that, especially bands that are up and coming, they completely refuse to put any other inspiration within the music. For example, you get like black metal bands. You know, you get like kids growing up like playing, I want to be a black metal band. Okay, do it, which is brilliant, you know, but they constantly want to sound like I don't know, the guitar sound like it's going through like a food blender.
Sure.
You know, and they're so tunnel vision, they will not listen to any other music apart from black metal. I mean, in the end of the day, which is brilliant, but you're not going to get a career out of it. It's not going to happen because you just sound the same as everybody else.
Right.
You know, you have to have outside influence. You can't have tunnel vision. You can't have it. You have to take the blinkers off and accept all different styles of music. Otherwise, you're just going to sound like everybody else and nobody's going to touch it.
Now, obviously your band has been able to kind of ignore any outsider criticism. I know that your band maybe took a little bit of a heat in the early days when you maybe went for more of a raw, traditional sounding black metal sound to maybe incorporating some of these newer sounds that you guys are playing today. You know, back during that time, did that bother you any, that you were getting, you know, a little bit of a, you know, some criticism from some of the purists?
No, not at all. You know, it's just the end of the day, we've just like, every single time we've just gone, we don't fucking care, to be honest. Yeah. You know, we do music, we don't care. I mean, because I'm from England and we're a tiny island, I mean, to start off with, we tried talking with like the whole, like, what they call themselves the black metal movement in like the Norway and stuff, you know, and they just completely like shut us off. And it was a case of, right, okay then, well, fuck you. You know, we'll just do it ourselves, and we did. Now look where we are, you know?
Sure.
And to be honest, it's just like, if you want to, like, become part of, like, a scene and you have to, like, go through and you worry about what people think of you, you're just never going to get anywhere. Because then you're going to end up writing music just to keep, like, the purists or to keep other people or keep everybody else, apart from you, happy.
Sure.
You know, at the end of the day, that's not what music's about. It's got to come from within yourself. It has to. You have to be into what you do, otherwise it's not going to be true.
Absolutely. Cool. So you mentioned black metal a couple of times. How do you feel about the label? I mean, I don't really like to get into labels, but I think they're important in a little bit of a way as far as, kind of trying to identify how a band, the true spirit of a band. How do you feel about the label black metal as it applies to your band today?
I don't think it does apply to us, to be honest. Because, like, no, yeah, fair enough, we play fast, we've got music, we do this, and we dress like it, but I don't think, personally, I mean, black metal to me is, I mean, yeah, people can say, oh, it's an atmosphere. Yeah, it is, true, but I just think we're just ourselves as just more of an extreme heavy metal band, because we do pull in influences from everywhere. I mean, I'm trying to think of some bands. I mean, look at Encode Nazarene, for argument's sake.
Yeah.
They started off as this, like, really, like, this, like, extreme black metal band. Now they've turned into, like, they've actually, like, evolved more into, like, something like a bit of a more of an extreme Motorhead type stuff. And all these bands that originally started off, we've all found our own niche and, like, evolving into our own stuff. So nobody's actually true now, to be honest, if that's what you want to call it.
Right. Well, I mean,
there's
sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm trying to think of a band. I can't think what the thing called now. There's one band that they started off as a black metal band. Now they've turned into like a more of like a prog rock type experimental weird timings and stuff. I can't think who it was now. But yeah, they're the furthest from a black metal band you could ever think of.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed that too, and that's always interesting. I'm just curious to know, with those types of bands like your band and those other bands that you referenced. You started with the black metal background. Is there still, even though you're really not playing that style of music anymore, is there any obligation at all to the spirit of black metal in your music today?
Well, yeah, you can say that the atmosphere is like dark. I suppose if you want to call that black metal, yeah, fair enough. But I say, because it's got so popular nowadays, what is actual true black metal now? There isn't anything.
Right.
It's become, black metal has become like a mainstream, almost, There's no such thing as true anymore.
It's true.
I mean, it's just like, there's so, like, many, like, bastardizations of that type of music now. I mean, look at it, like, for the sake, I don't know, go back 20 years, there was heavy metal, okay? Which is brilliant, okay. What other tags were there? 20 years ago, I don't know, there was perhaps like thrash metal and a bit of death metal started coming in, and that was it. Then all of a sudden, like, there was a whole like bastardization of like heavy metal. All of a sudden, all these tags started coming up, just because, for argument's sake, I mean, I see it as in like journalists when they want to try and describe a band, they can't turn around and say, for argument's sake, take us like, oh yeah, it's Cradle of Filth music. People are going to go, what the fuck's that?
Right.
So they have to try and like pigeonhole us and put us into a category. Just so they can talk about us and compare us to the other bands that sound similar to us.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like, I don't know. There's like, whether they talk about good things or bad things. I mean, this is the reason why we've had so many different, like there's been like black metal, there's been like goth metal, there's been like vampire, fucking rock, and God knows what. Do you know what I mean? All the other tags.
Yeah.
Just because nobody can actually put their finger on exactly what we sound like and what sort of music we are. And that's the best thing to be, because at the end of the day, you haven't got, like, talking about, like, tunnel vision. That way, that's the only way, really, you can actually develop your own sound, is by taking influences from every possible style of music going.
Right, and that's probably the best compliment that somebody can give your band, is that you don't sound like anybody
Exactly. Else. So if you determine and say, oh, yeah, by the way, blah, 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 we're a black metal band, okay, fine, fair enough, brilliant. That'll last for about 2 years, and what happens when the scene goes down?
Right.
Right. What's going to happen if the scene dies, or if you say you're part of a particular scene, what's going to happen when that dies? It's going to go down, and you go with it.
That's
then there's best not pigeonholing yourself at all, and just letting people make up their own minds.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. Very cool stuff. Well, I wanted to actually mention real quick about the lineup. I know that your band has gone through a number of different lineup changes. How do you feel about the current group of musicians you're playing with today? Is it the best lineup so far?
Yeah, I like it, to be honest. I don't think there's such thing as a best lineup, because, like, when music's written and albums are recorded, that's the best of your ability to do, no matter who's in the band at that particular point in time, So I think the best lineup is whoever you're writing with at that time for that album,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I mean, since we've got James. James has come back, as we've already been with us before. I mean, we haven't really had, like, loads of, like, different faces coming in. There's usually, like, faces coming in, they go for a bit, and then there's usually the same faces that come back again. You know, so, but it just looks like there's a turnaround of different people, when it isn't really at all.
Yeah. Well, I thought that's always been a cool thing about your band, too, is that you always try to incorporate a number of different musicians, and there's so many different elements. I mean, it's not like any one element of the band stands out. It's, you know, it's a lot of cool stuff. What's it like? Your front man, Danny, has always been an interesting character. What's it like working with him? What's your relationship with him?
Oh, we're very close. You know, it's basically Danny and myself that pretty much run everything.
Right.
You know, yeah, it works very, very well indeed. You know, we constantly, I mean, we don't live out of each other's pockets, but when we're working and when we're touring and stuff, yeah, it's basically like me and him that as I say, I do like all the arranging on the music, and he does all like the lyrics and like comes up with the imagery and comes up with like the concepts and stuff. You know, I mean, and then between the two of us, myself and him, we do like merchandise together as well. So we pretty much like create the merch imagery and just make sure everything's run properly.
Very cool, very cool. Now, I mean, you guys have been together and so close for so long. I mean, how much? I mean, I don't want to, you know, sound, you know, morbid or anything like that, but I mean, how much longer do you think you guys can keep this going?
Oh, we've got at least another 10 years in this.
That's great.
Yeah, we're completely making it. We're going to push it as far as it can go, to be honest.
Well, it's cool because you are seeing. I think heavy metal in general is one of the few genres where you can see a lot of bands with long-standing power. You know, pop musicians can fizzle out after a year or two. You know, but there's lots of metal bands out there that have been truly survivors and have been around the 20 and 30 and sometimes 40 years. You know, and I think that's really cool that you can get into a band and follow them throughout their entire career.
No, exactly. I mean, for instance, look at the prime example, right? The death metal scene.
Sure.
You know, there's all these bands coming out with all this fucking really extreme stuff, and it was amazing. That lasted like a few years. I mean, yeah, you got people into them now, you know, but the way how big it was beforehand, you know, and that was just full out all the time. And like now, it's just like it's not really around anymore.
Right.
You know, it just doesn't really happen. Don't get me wrong, I really like the death metal stuff. I do.
Oh, me
you
too.
Know,
me too.
You know, I do. But looking at it on a sort of like, I don't know, a longevity type thing.
Sure.
You know, it's not really around. You don't get loads of death metal bands coming out like they used to anymore.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah. Speaking of some bands with some staying power, I heard that at one point, maybe it's still the case today, but Cradle of Filth was second in album sales in England, only to Iron Maiden. Is that true?
So say again one more time.
I heard that at one point in time, your band's album sales in England were second only to Iron Maiden.
No. Well, kinda. You know, we got tagged with the. It was sort of like that. We more got tagged with the, like the label of like Iron Maiden on crack.
Oh, okay.
You know.
Okay.
And yeah, and that was from, and basically we're classed out of England as like the next best thing to Maiden.
Right.
You know. I don't know who brought that up, but yeah, that's been like, yeah, I don't know if journalists done it or they done it. I think like, because like with Maiden as well, they pretty much like tagged us with that as well.
Yeah, maybe I'm sorry I misread that somewhere, but I just thought that was interesting. I mean, I know that your band is extremely popular in England. I don't hear a whole lot about the English metal scene. Can you just describe it a little bit? What's the metal scene out there where you guys play?
Nowadays it's quite piss poor, to be honest.
Really?
It is, yeah. It's gone like nowadays. All like the metal mags, like Kerrang, Metal Hammer, and all stuff like that. In England, all they seem to do is concentrate on American bands now.
Okay.
You know, and like, which is it doesn't bother me in the slightest, to be honest. But it's like, but yeah, they just seem to like they don't seem to support. See, the thing is, in England, it's really weird. I mean, in England, if you're a new band and you're up and coming, you know, they'll support you like 100%. You know, and all the magazines give you front covers, really push you, right? But as soon as you make it, they completely try and knock you back down again.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then, but if you're an American band, you know, you can come up with the biggest pile of shit going and they'll love it.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. Do you have any reason to explain that? I mean, is there any rhyme or reason behind that?
No idea. I don't know. I really don't know. It's weird. I mean, like us, we're constantly banging heads with like English press all the time because we've got so big.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, they're just constantly bashing us all the time and taking the piss in the magazines and promising front covers and like then dropping it at the last minute. And yeah, they do. We're used to that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But when we first started off, it was amazing. They were like completely like full on pushing us, front covers, posters in magazines, fucking everything. Right? But yeah, as soon as we got big, they tried to like knock us back again, but they couldn't, and they hated it.
Well, good for you guys. Hey, I've heard that you're a big '80s thrash metal fan. Is that true?
Yeah, I love it.
What?
Yeah, I spent all my childhood in the '80s, like just listening to Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Motorhead, and tons of thrash metal.
Oh yeah. Well, we actually just did a podcast about thrash metal. Can you, maybe tell us one or two of your favorite metal, favorite thrash metal memories?
Memories? Oh, I remember seeing. They used to be like, what was it? In where I lived. In the 80s, every weekend, right, there was this venue in Ipswich, and you used to have to pay £3 to see three thrash metal bands.
Sure.
And that was every weekend. And that was amazing. I saw Destruction there, Age of Steel, oh Christ, fucking, just trying to think where else has been up there. I can't, that was years ago.
Did you see Creator there?
Yeah, Creator, absolutely. We played with those as well. That was amazing.
Yeah, very cool.
There was like, yeah, I mean, I've really got into So Far, So Good, So What, Megadeth.
Yeah.
You know, all like the real early stuff. Was it, fucking Living Death as well? Do you remember those?
Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah, there's just stuff like that, you know. It's just, I totally got into it.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite, genres too. That early '80s thrash scene, and like I said, we just got done talking about it in our previous podcast. We talked a little bit about Slayer. Were you a big Slayer fan? I think it's kind of hard not to.
Yeah, I was a huge Slayer fan.
Yeah.
Everybody was banging on about Rain and Blood, but I thought the best album was South of Heaven.
Yeah, you know what? That's my favorite album too. I mean, I like
Rain
and Blood.
I think why everyone was the melodies and stuff in South of Heaven and stuff are all amazing. Like Rain and Blood just seemed to be just like. I mean, there's some good stuff on there, but it doesn't compare to South of Heaven.
No, I just like it when they started to kind of slow their sound down a little bit, and focus on some of those little groovy riffs and do some of those melodies like you talked about. And that's my favorite Slayer,
Yeah, totally. I mean, at the end of the day, also, it's just I can't help thinking like, for argument's sake, the only reason why everybody keeps banging on about like Rain and Blood, I just think because they think they have to and they think it's trending.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like, it becomes cliche. It's like, everybody says that Sgt. Pepper's is the Beatles' best album, but is that really true? Who knows, So it's like, I think it just becomes something that people say, but when you really go and listen to it, it's like they really started something special when they started. Seasons in the Abyss, too, is another one where they just really started inventing that really Slayer sound that they're known for.
Yeah, I totally agree with it.
Yeah. Well, listen, man, I don't want to take up too much of your time today. So what's next for the band? You mentioned you're going to be touring South America coming up in next month, and then you're going to be playing the States. When are you going to be back in the States?
Well, we're in the States from the 1st of February.
Okay.
And that's for 7 weeks, or 6-7 weeks, something like that. Then hopefully, I mean, there's talk about us doing the Mayhem festivals.
Oh, very cool.
Which go around in the summertime, but I'm hoping that's going to happen. Nothing's been confirmed yet, but I really do hope it's going to, really pick up and take off with that, because that'd be amazing to play amphitheaters and have a decent amount of room when we've got some to bring up the stage show again.
Yeah, I mean, the Mayhem Festival has been really great the last few years, and being in the States, I mean, we don't get a ton of, as far as the summer metal tours go, we don't get a ton of like really big ones, but that's been one that I've been going to the last couple of years, and I think it would be great to see you guys on that.
Oh, sorry, yeah, I hope it is. I hope it's going to actually like pick up like that. It'll be amazing.
Very cool, very cool. Um, all right, Paul. Well, listen, like I said, thank you very much for taking the time and talking with us today. It means a lot to our listeners. I know there's Cradle of Filth fans listening all over the world, and we really appreciate what you guys do. And good luck with the tour, man. The new album's great, and hope you get a lot of success from it.